Any advice or warning when using wax seals for gift wrapping? How to make a good looking seal over ribbon or string? Any caution needed with gift wrap that's shiny or lightweight? That kind of thing. Gosh, I took this question just because I thought it was interesting. It's very pertinent, timely, and stuff like that. And I haven't really talked about sealing wax all that much recently. So I'm going to do a little live demo here. So I want to make sure that you can actually kind of see what I have going on. Does that work? Okay, I have my monitor over here, so you're gonna get to see my sealing wax going on here. So what I like to do when I'm doing sealing wax, today I've got a stick of Goulet supple sealing wax. The supple wax is definitely what you're gonna wanna use for the wrapping paper. It's just a little more forgiving, and when you're handling it, it's gonna be better in general. And plus, that's most of what my experience is with as well. So this is the silver supple sealing wax. You can obviously use whatever color you want. I have my G brass seal. This is the Goulet brass seal. And then this handle is actually one that I made myself. So go ahead and pine over it. You're not going to get one because it's mine. And then I have this is a Bernzomatic flexible neck butane torch, like a camping torch, that gives a nice windproof flame that I really love to use for wax seals. Not only because it's got the flexible neck that's very easy to kind of adapt, but the windproof flame heats up the wax really quickly and allows you to kind of have good control of it and good placement of it as you're doing it. There's lots of different ways you can heat up sealing wax. This is my preferred method to do it. So what I'm gonna do, I'm trying to remember, if I prefer it, let's do it this way. I usually like to use the torch in my right hand and then the other in the left, but I'll switch it around sometimes. So what I have right here, this is just a test sample. It could be a box, it could be anything. But I have some string that I have on here, and it's just on an envelope for demonstration purposes. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a little wax down here below the knot of the string. So it's gonna be partly on the paper, partly on the string. And essentially it's not gonna be much different than you would have when you're doing a normal wax seal. And this is why I like to do it this way as opposed to, some of the other ways you can do it is you melt it in like a little spoon or a little, something like that. You cut off a chunk of it, you melt it in a spoon and you pour it on. I don't like that method quite as much for this because I personally have a hard time judging how much I should use. That's just me though. The thing I like about this method is you can kind of keep dripping it on until you feel like you have a good amount. But let's see here, this is gonna be a live experiment. So I'm just going to kind of melt the end. So I just kind of rotate it back and forth in my hand. And I'm not very crafty personally. So you can see how quickly that starts to melt. And I like to be a little sloppy with it. I don't like to make perfect looking wax seals because that to me doesn't look handmade. Maybe that's just me, that's just my style, but you can do it however you want. So I'm getting some drips on. I'm kind of dripping it on both sides of the thing. And I'm trying not to get like way up on it. And I'm putting a pretty hefty amount of wax on here. There we go. Boom. Okay. So that's a little hot, so I'm just going to kind of set that down. Part of the thing I like about the flexible neck too is I do this little bump in the neck. That way the hot part of the end of it doesn't stay right on there. Okay, so I've got a nice little bit there. I kind of mix it around a bit and then get a little heat on there. And then I'm just going to press it down into it. Beautiful. I'll give it a second and then pull it away. Oh, that looks terrible. Oh no. Okay, this is my grand experiment. Oh yeah, that's stuck right to it, huh? How about that? All right, that looks awful. Oh my gosh, I'm not gonna try and put on a pretense. That's what it ends up looking like, folks. Isn't that beautiful? Okay, so if there is a better way to do this, I don't know what it is. And I don't know how much time you want me to spend trying to get it right, but one thing that I do normally like to do is I like to try to use an ice pack to to cool down the brass seal. So that's kind of the issue. I think what happened is I might have let the wax cool a little too much before I put it on there and the wax stuck to the seal. All right, I'm gonna try this one more time. If you guys can bear with me, I look like a friggin' fool now. So I am literally playing with fire at this point to see if I can salvage this seal. So you can kind of touch it to it. You obviously don't want to burn the envelope, so use this at your own discretion. I'm going to add a little more wax because that definitely will help, right? All right, so let's try that. The problem is it's stuck to the string. Okay, let's see if this is going to be any better. I'm going to like actually let it cool now and see how this goes. I'm going to really try to press it down in there. Oh, see, it's like sticking to the brass. I'm just going to let it cool completely. While I'm sitting here letting this thing try to cool, this is a hot mess, a friggin' disaster that you are now seeing, and it's going to be on the internet for eternity. Anyway, so this has been my experiment. You would have thought that I would have liked to play with this ahead of time so I didn't look like a fool. But hey, you know, this is literally how it goes sometimes. You just got to play around, mess around. So, you know, you win some, you lose some. Maybe don't use my advice when you're when you're doing wax seals on packages like this. Okay. Maybe. Will I be salvaged? Okay. You know what? That's not half bad. I may have redeemed myself a little bit here. Okay. So you can determine, not bad for a salvage especially. So the key with this was for me to leave the seal on there a little bit. Now, I think if I had taken this with an ice pack and cooled it down first, I would have had much more success. But you know, that doesn't look so terrible, right? Please, maybe. Anyway, I'm really glad that kind of worked out. I was pretty embarrassed, as much as I could be. If I was really going to be that embarrassed, I would have practiced it ahead of time. But anyway, that literally is the first time I've tried to do a wax seal over top of a string. And it kind of works. I've seen other people do it though, so I know it works well. Maybe there's a better way to do it, but if a fool like me can do it, you probably can too. Maybe what you'll want to do is practice first before you put it on a nicely wrapped present that you've already done. So to kind of touch on the rest of your question here, you asked about doing it on anything shiny or lightweight. The wax is pretty sticky when it cools, so I wouldn't worry too much about being shiny. The lightweight, I'm really not sure if that makes too much of a difference, to be honest with you. I might have a concern if you were going to be doing it on a paper that was like a really plasticky kind of paper, just because if the wax is really hot, I don't know if that would melt the paper or do anything weird to the paper. You probably would just want to experiment a little bit with that and see. You know, it's always a good idea rather than doing it on the gift itself, because if you have the gift itself in a really thin paper and then you end up burning through the paper or something and actually marring the gift itself, that might not be so good. So just do a little bit of experimentation and you think you'll be just fine. It's not so bad, right? No. I'm not very crafty.